Hey everyone, Brian here, and welcome to the Long Dark. I mean, that's obviously a lie now, isn't it? Clearly, this is not the Long Dark gameplay. This is just me, in my apartment, talking to you. But before you click away, just give me a moment to explain. The reason I'm recording this vlog, so to speak, is to explain that what you'll be getting today is actually only half of an episode. Unfortunately, I had a technical malfunction which caused the audio in the first half of the episode to desynchronize from the video. So, for about 20 to 30 seconds, my audio recording sped up. It was really fast. Like, it sounded like I was on helium and talking a million miles a minute. So, what ended up happening is after that 20 to 30 seconds was over, my voiceover was, it sounded normal, but it was out of sync with what was happening in the game. So I would say, oh, here I'm walking over here, but I'd still be standing in the same place. Then 20 to 30 seconds later, the video would catch up with what I was saying, and you'd see me walking up there, but I would have already moved on to another subject that I was talking about. So that portion of the video was entirely unusable. Luckily, there was, at one point, I did do a cut to eliminate some pointless waiting around that would have been incredibly boring for everyone to watch on YouTube. So the second half of the episode didn't have that same problem. It was perfectly normal. The voiceover was good. I seem to have eliminated most of the frame rate issues that I had a problem with in the first episode, thanks to, tweaking some more settings. But before I bring you what's left of the episode, I do need to explain a little bit about what happened, because, what happened previously. So, as I said, with my Long Dark series, my plan is not to bring you every minute of every day in my goal to survive a year in the game. That's not my goal at all. My goal is also not to show you things that I find a little bit tedious or boring about the game. The waiting around, the farming, while the blizzards are a cool mechanic, sometimes you just have to wait them out, and that doesn't necessarily make for a compelling YouTube video. So I'll be cutting most of that out. But also, certain gameplay mechanics, while they are compelling, and, make me just want to keep playing the game, once I've shown them once in the video, you're just going to say to yourself, why am I watching this again? Like starting a fire or fishing. It's a gameplay mechanic that is 100% necessary for the survival in the game, but once you've seen it done once, you don't necessarily need to see it done again. And I could just say, on such and such a day I went fishing, and I caught so many fish, and here are the fish that I caught. And that would be more than sufficient to, let everyone know what I had done. So the plan with the series is to cut out a lot of that stuff and leave in just the bits that I find make for compelling watching in a YouTube video. So things like hunting, obviously, exploring significant areas. So, for instance, in the first half of the video, which you're not going to see, I explained that between episodes, so between episode 1 and episode 2, what I did was I actually explored most of the Mystery Lake map. Because again, my goal is not to explore the entire world and show you every single minute of every single day, but rather to survive for a full year. So I went ahead and I explored a lot of the locations on the Mystery Lake map. I explored the rest of the Carter Hydro Dam, which I saw in the first episode. I explored a bunch of the lakeside cabins and ice fishing huts, the forestry lookout tower, Just a number of locations around the map, scavenging for supplies, trying to find tools. I did actually find tools. I actually found 2 hatchets and 2 knives, so we're doing all right on the tool front. Found a ton of rifle bullets. Like, I think that just from raiding the locations around Mystery Lake, I have almost 50 rifle bullets, which is crazy. I've never encountered that many rifle bullets before. Don't have a rifle yet, which, obviously still haven't checked out Trapper's Cabin because the Trapper's Cabin is what I consider to be a significant location. It's one of the 2 locations on the Mystery Lake map, which I frequently see people saying this makes a good base, particularly for beginners. Personally, I prefer the camp office, which is where I'm making my base right now. And there are a number of different reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into those now. The other one is, of course, the Trapper's Cabin or the Trapper's Homestead, which many people feel is superior to the camp office. I'm not going to debate that. Both have their benefits, both have their downfalls, but I like the camp office, so that's where I'm making my base. But being that it is another important location, I want to show going to the Trapper's Cabin on video, and the second half of today's episode will show me going to that location. So we'll leave that for now. What I did showcase in the first half of the episode what I explained was that while I did get very lucky on the tools and bullets front, I was not so lucky on some of the other supplies, namely food. So while I was raiding the lakeside cabins and the ice fishing huts, I did collect a bunch of cattail stalks, which are edible. And so I collected a bunch of those, so I have food, but I prefer to save the cattail stalks for traveling. Any experienced players of the game will know that, the cattail stalks are lightweight, they never degrade, and they have one of the best calorie per weight efficiencies in the whole game. So I like to save my cattail stalks if I can for when I need to go out on big, long excursions. But I barely found any food. Like, I harvested a couple of carcasses that were just spawned on the map. Obviously, I didn't do any hunting of my own, but I harvested some carcasses that were just on the map, so I found some venison. I found, some prepared foods, and that kept me alive for the week that passed between the 2 episodes, but the food generation was just low. Like, I have found way more food in some of my Stalker runs than I've found so far in this Voyageur run, which is just weird to me because I thought that loot generation was supposed to be higher on Voyageur mode, but, obviously there is still an RNG factor to consider, so that is a problem. So what I did in the first half of this episode was I actually went and did some ice fishing. I crafted myself some hooks and line, and I didn't craft the hooks and line. I crafted the hooks and line into fishing tackle and used that to do some ice fishing. So that brought up our food stores a little bit. But what I also did, which is really just a thread of conversation, which will continue in the second half of the episode, so I feel compelled to bring it up right now, was I talked about game design. Because, it comes up a lot on the Long Dark forums, aspects of game design, specifically immersion, making games more immersive, which, I don't know, it's kind of a tricky concept. One of the best source materials that I've ever found for this is actually a book called Rules of Play, which I first read 5 or 6 years ago when I first became really interested in game design. But it's definitely still a good book. Like, it came out 2004, and but it definitely stands up to the test of time. It's a great book. I definitely recommend anyone who's interested in game design to check it out. But the point is that in Rules of Play, the authors discuss what they term the immersive fallacy. Now, this is the idea, which is very prevalent among game designers, that a good game is an immersive game. A game that truly transports the player into the world that you've created. A number of different ways to do that, obviously, but one of the most common is hyper-realistic graphics and hyper-realistic gameplay. So making the gameplay involve everything that you would need to do in order to live in that world. And, while I suppose that does appeal to some people, it doesn't necessarily make for good gameplay. Like, then it's just life. And life is life enough for most people. That's not the point of playing a game. And so in this book, they talk about the immersive fallacy, and that fallacy that they're talking about is the idea that in order to make an immersive game, you have to simulate reality to such a degree that people forget they're playing a game. They contend in the book that the point of play, or rather something that play does, is it utilizes a dual consciousness. It's this idea that we can be playing a game and be totally engrossed in a game and enjoying ourselves playing the game, but we are still, on a conscious level, aware that we are playing a game. I mean, think about it. Think about any first-person shooter you've ever played. Do you run away from danger and hide from the threats? No. You run in, guns blazing, and shoot those guys up. I mean, obviously people have different playstyles when it comes to first-person shooters, but the point stands. What we do in a game, no matter how realistic, no matter how good the graphics are, what we do in a game is not what we do in reality, because the point of playing is to have fun. It's not meant to be a perfect simulation of reality. It's meant to be something that we do for enjoyment. And they explain it way better in the book than I ever could, because I'm not quoting the book 100%. Definitely check that book out if you're interested in the subject. I've already gone on about it longer, and I do that in the video too, and it's, I'm sorry. But I do pick up the thread of the conversation in the video, so I didn't want to just leave you to, hear me talking about it from the middle if I didn't say anything about it. But, that's really all there is to it. I went fishing, I caught some fish, I cooked the fish, I boiled some water, I wasn't attacked by wolves or anything, although that did happen a lot during the week that I played off camera. I got attacked by wolves more times in that first week than I sometimes do in an entire stalker-level sandbox. Like, I don't know if I accidentally am not on Voyageur mode, but when I checked the sandbox menu, it said Voyageur, so I don't know what's going on. My loot seems all messed up, and I'm being attacked by wolves a lot. So, who knows? Definitely... I don't want to get attacked by wolves, but I kind of want to show a wolf attack on camera, so we'll see how that goes. I do have some other ideas for what I'm going to do, but I'll save that for another video because I've already gone on for too long. What really to take away from this is that I do have gameplay coming up. It's only about half an episode, and some of the topics that I talk about are things that were initially referenced at the beginning, the video that you're not going to see, which is why I felt the need to explain myself. And I'm sorry that I've gone on for so long, but, some of these subjects, they just really get me going, and I can't help myself. I'm a compulsive talker, I guess you could say. Anyway, really want to thank everyone for sticking with me through what is essentially my very first vlog, and please enjoy the long dark.
Morning time. There really isn't anything like a beautiful winter's morning in northern Canada, as long as you don't have to go out in it. But, I mean, it's minus 8 degrees, which is, pretty cold, but we're gonna survive. I want to go to the trapper's cabin, and I'm probably not gonna take the most efficient route to get there, so please, if you know a more efficient route, don't, bite my head off or anything. I'm gonna take the route that I know off the top of my head, because I'm gonna try not to consult any, maps or anything as I'm playing the game, to really, remove as many advantages as I can, because, I have played a lot of this game. I think I'm up over 100 hours on Steam, or getting close to 100 hours on my Steam profile. So, I do have a lot of hours put into this game, and I do know, even though I don't always use all of the tactics that I know, I do know them. So, I'm trying to remove as many advantages as I can and really, showcase the actual survival experience presented by the game. But, so I'm just using the route that I know off the top of my head to get to the trapper's cabin, without referencing any maps or anything like that. I have referenced maps in the past, I'm not going to lie, and say that I've never looked at a map for this game because, in one of my other sandboxes, I was like, okay, I gotta find a bunker. For those of you who don't know, bunkers are like preppers' caches, if anyone knows what a prepper is. But they're preppers' caches that typically contain high amounts of a specific kind of loot. And in one of my other sandboxes, I was getting up on some pretty high numbered days, and I was running low on, I can't remember what resource it was I was running low on, and I was just like, God, I gotta find a prepper's cache. So I went online and I sourced a map, and I used that to, systematically check every places that people have confirmed finding prepper's caches. And eventually I found one, but it turned out to be sort of useless. Again, it was like medical supplies or something. Again, I don't remember what it is that I was missing, but it wasn't medicals. It was probably bullets, now that I think about it. Bullets are one of those things that it's easy to run low on if you get really unlucky with the random number generator. I mean, I've gotten unlucky with the random number generator on this map, but that's not because of bullets. I've found plenty of bullets. I don't have a rifle. And I've checked all of the major locations that the rifle normally spawns, except for the trapper's homestead. I also got pretty unlucky with the food generation, but, we can take care of food. Food isn't that big a problem. If need be, I can harvest saplings and make arrows and go off on my own time and learn how to shoot the bow, which is not easy, by the way. The bow in this game is not an easy mechanic. Anyway, I was talking about immersion, and, I don't want to give people the idea that, oh, it's maple, I don't need maple, I have a bow! I need birch to make arrows. Gah! That's annoying. Oh well, we'll find it eventually. But, yeah, no, I was talking about immersion, and I don't want to give the idea that I'm, hating on games that call themselves immersive, but immersive as a descriptor doesn't tell me what I need to know about a game. I mean, I can call this game immersive because there's no heads-up display to speak of. I can call this game immersive because I find it very easy to get lost in this game and play it for a long period of time, but a better word for that would be engrossing, which is why I used the word engrossing when I was describing it. You know, immersion is just one of those nebulous things that I think that people don't really understand when they use it to describe a game. Which is unfortunate because, you know, it makes it difficult to really talk about what makes a good game, because, you know, people talk about making a good game and they say, you know, make the game immersive. It's like, okay, but what does that mean? Do you mean making it hyper-realistic, a simulation of reality that people are going to think they're actually in the world you've created? Because that doesn't always make a good game. Sometimes those games turn out really bad. Or do you mean a game that people get lost in and people, you know, play for hours and hours? Ooh, birch bark. That people play for hours and hours on end, and suddenly it's 5 in the morning and you're like, holy crap, where did all the time go? But, which has happened to me on a number of occasions with this game. But that's not the point. Because if that's your idea of an immersive game, well, I mean, what you're really describing is not immersion, it's being engrossing, being a good game. And, you know, this game is that without being hyper-realistic. And other games are that without even being a first-person game. So, again, I don't like the term immersive. I think I used it myself in my first video, and it was really, that's just a slip. And I do it all the time. I refer to games as immersive, and typically I correct myself almost immediately, like if I'm talking to my friends, and I tell them, oh, you should check this game out, it's super immersive, and then I'll say, wait a minute, let me explain what I mean by that. Because using the word immersive to describe a game is fine, but you have to qualify what you mean by immersive. And here it is. We found the trapper's cabin. Like I said, maybe not the most direct or efficient route to get here, but I did it. We're going to harvest this carcass because that'll give me some food, maybe. 1 kilogram of meat. I mean, you know, it's better than nothing. I want the hide, and I want the guts. And that's going to take 1 hour and 35 minutes. It's going to burn 356 calories, which is fine. We'll do it anyway. 1 hour and 10 minutes, 1 hour 30. Okay. So you always want to check how long it takes to harvest things using your various tools, because in some cases with like fully frozen corpses, the hatchet is actually better than the knife. In certain cases. Again, I don't want to give the idea that you know, that's always the case. Ooh, firewood. When we get inside the trapper's cabin, we're gonna make a fire. Ooh, fur. Fur is good. Fur burns longer and hotter than the cedar firewood. When we get inside the trapper's cabin, we're gonna make a fire. We're gonna cook up this venison. We're probably gonna have to last out the day in the trapper's cabin, but that's fine because this episode is almost over anyways. I think I'm over my allotted half hour, but we'll go a little long because I got caught up talking about game design and things like that, which I didn't mean to do. Gosh. You know, people tell me that I get hung up on things, and yeah, that's probably true. But when I really get into something, it's hard not to. Another subject for me that really gets me is time travel. Anyone who's watched my series on Chrono Trigger will know that I dwell on the time travel mechanics in that game like nobody's business, and you know, I probably shouldn't. It probably gets really annoying to people around me, and I apologize for that. If people are annoyed by me dwelling on these subjects, just leave me a comment below, and I'll try to avoid it more. But, you know, game design is just one of those things that, especially if you're a Let's Player on YouTube, you know, it's important to know things about game design. So while I first read Rules of Play years ago, when I first became interested in game design, I've recently been reading up on it again, and you know, it's totally an interesting subject. And the rifle is not here. Are you serious right now? I am gonna have to do the entire Mystery Lake map with no rifle? You are not serious. Oh my god. No. I mean, I've done it before, but I've played other whole maps without the rifle. What use are you rifle cartridges? You're no use to me. I don't have a rifle. I got an MRE. I mean, food is good, right? Need to eat. Oh, and look, a frontier shooting guide! That doesn't help me without a rifle either. A snare. I could catch rabbits to eat. That's always good. Oh, the stomach is grumbling. I'm hungry. Look, there's another knife. Alright. I'm gonna, you know, properly loot this place off camera. We're probably gonna have to last the night out here. Maybe a couple of days. Depends on how much loot is here. I mean, there's a jerry can full of lamp oil. Lots of people prefer the Trapper's Homestead versus the camp office. I prefer the camp office for a bunch of different reasons that I'm not going to get into in this episode, because I'm already long, and I don't like being long on episodes, because, you know, people get bored. They don't want to sit around listening to me talk over a game, especially when I'm not accomplishing much, and I didn't even find a freaking rifle. Maybe there's one in the safe. I don't know. I'm not going to crack the safe right now. I'll loot this place myself, and, you know, like I said, probably going to have to spend nothing, really. Worn out shoes, that's all that's in the locker. If that safe is empty, I'm going to... I don't know. But we're surviving. We're going to survive. We're going to survive a year. A year on Voyageur mode. You know, somehow I thought that Voyageur mode... I have had better luck on my Stalker playthroughs. What is going on? Baseball cap. I mean, I can harvest this stuff. Accelerant is useful. Makes fire starting faster, but... there's some beef jerky and an orange soda. I mean, that's good, right?
Probably useful.
What condition is this venison at? Because it's probably bad. 49. Actually, if I cook that, it'll be almost 100%, and then it'll be fine. Right. So, like I said, probably gonna last out a day or two here. Then gotta cart back all the loot to the camp office. Like I said, there are a couple of reasons I prefer the camp office, and maybe I'll get into that in the next episode if I remember to do it. Because I prefer the camp office as a home base on the Mystery Lake map. Lots of people prefer the Trapper's Homestead, and, you know, there's nothing to say that they're wrong. There's nothing to say that I'm right. There's nothing to say that I'm wrong and they're right. You know, it's just preference. And I'm going to want to, like I say, I'm going to want to cart everything that's in here back to my home base, and that involves, you know, breaking down this chair and breaking down that shelf and breaking down this shelf and breaking down everything and carting all the gear back to the Trapper's Homestead, which is going to take me, or not the Trapper's Homestead, carting it all back to the camp office, which is going to take me a few days, and I'm not going to do that on camera, because it's just tedious and boring. And along the way, I'm going to try and gather up some more food, probably do some more fishing, do a bunch of stuff. Don't know how long the jump is going to be to the next episode, but I'm not going to do anything interesting off camera, so don't worry about it. Maybe a week, maybe a month, who knows. But, you know, there are 6 maps in the Sandbox Alpha right now, and I just keep talking, and this is going longer and longer and longer. But there are 6 maps, in the sandbox right now, and I have an idea of how I want to tackle them and in what order I want to tackle them, because I figure the best way to do a year is just to spend 2 months on each map and then move on to the next. So I'm going to figure out, the order I want to do that in and where I want to. Starting on Mystery Lake is actually great because it's one of the easier maps, and then maybe we'll increase in difficulty as we go and finish with the new map, Forlorn Muskeg, or maybe we'll do it a different way. I don't know. I'll come up with a plan and we'll implement it. Spend 2 months on each map and then move on to a new one. Hopefully. We need a rifle. God, I need a rifle so bad. Why is there no rifle? Am I missing it? Is it like hidden in a nook or a cranny here that I'm not seeing? I was really hoping there'd be a rifle. There's a rifle cleaning kit under that bench there. What use are you? I don't have a rifle to clean. Oh, God, I'm losing it. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and, maybe leave a comment below, things you'd like me to do, things you'd like me to try. Check out some of my other videos if you're interested. And, as always, we'll see you again next time.